Welcome back to Stamps Old World US. Today, we are exploring one of the most famous, valuable, and legendary postage stamps ever created. If you have ever wondered why a tiny piece of paper can be worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars, then stay with me until the end of this video. Today, we are talking about the world's first adhesive postage stamp, the legendary penny black. We will explore its fascinating history, the story behind its creation, its unique design, why collectors around the world admire it, and most importantly, how much it is worth in today's stamp market in US dollars. Whether you are a beginner, an experienced philatelist, or simply curious about rare collectibles, this video will give you everything you need to know. The stamp you are seeing is known as the penny black. It was issued on May 1st, 1840, and officially became valid for postage on May 6th, 1840 in Great Britain. Before the penny black, sending mail was expensive and confusing. Usually, the person receiving the letter had to pay the postage rather than the sender. This system caused many problems because people often refused to accept letters simply to avoid paying the fees. Everything changed when a British schoolteacher and social reformer named Sir Rowland Hill introduced a revolutionary idea. He proposed that the sender should pay for postage in advance using a small adhesive label attached to the letter. That small label became the penny black, forever changing the postal system across the world. The penny black features the profile of Queen Victoria when she was only 21 years old. The portrait was based on a medal engraved by William Wyon, one of Britain's finest engravers. Interestingly, Queen Victoria approved the design, and her profile remained on British stamps for more than 60 years with only minor changes. The elegant portrait became one of the most recognizable images in philatelic history. The stamp was printed in black ink, which is why it became known as the penny black. It carried a face value of 1 penny, allowing people to send letters weighing up to half an ounce anywhere within the United Kingdom. More than 68 million penny black stamps were printed during its short period of use. Although this sounds like an enormous number, finding one today in excellent condition is much more difficult than many people imagine. One interesting feature of the penny black is that it does not have the country's name printed on it. Even today, British stamps are unique because they display only the monarch's portrait instead of the country name. The penny black established this tradition, and it continues more than 180 years later. Every penny black has 2 letters printed in the lower corners. These letters identify the exact position of the stamp on the original printing sheet. For example, the stamp shown here has the letters M and H. These corner letters help collectors identify where the stamp came from and can sometimes help detect forgeries. The penny black was printed using engraved steel plates. 11 different printing plates were used during production. Some plates are much rarer than others. Plate 11, for example, is extremely scarce because only a small number of stamps were printed before production switched to the penny red. A genuine penny black from plate 11 can be worth significantly more than examples from the more common plates. Although millions of penny blacks were produced, condition is everything. Stamp collectors carefully examine several important factors before determining value. First is the quality of the margins. The penny black was printed before perforations were introduced, meaning collectors had to cut each stamp from the sheet using scissors. A stamp with 4 complete margins is much more desirable than one with trimmed or damaged edges. Even a small cut into the design can greatly reduce value. The second factor is the cancellation mark. Since the stamp was printed in black, postal workers originally used a red Maltese cross cancellation to prevent reuse. However, the red cancellation did not always show clearly on the black stamp. Because of this problem, postal authorities later switched to black cancellation marks and changed the stamp color to red, creating the famous penny red. Today, collectors often prefer penny blacks with a clear and attractive red Maltese cross cancellation because it is historically correct and visually striking. The third factor is centering. A well-centered penny black with even margins on all 4 sides is much harder to find than one that is off-center. Collectors are willing to pay a premium for beautiful examples. The fourth factor is originality. Unfortunately, because of the penny black's popularity, many fake and altered examples exist. Some counterfeit stamps have been created to deceive collectors, while others have had repaired margins or fake cancellations added to increase value. This is why buying from reputable dealers or obtaining certificates from professional expertising organizations is extremely important. Now let's discuss the market value of the penny black in today's stamp market. Prices can vary dramatically depending on condition, rarity, and authenticity. A heavily used penny black with damaged margins, stains, tears, or poor appearance may sell for around $50 to $150. These examples are generally purchased by beginner collectors who want to own a piece of postal history without spending a fortune. A typical used penny, black with 3 or 4 decent margins and a normal cancellation, often sells between $300 and $800. These represent the majority of examples found in today's collector market. A very attractive penny black with 4 full margins, a sharp impression, and a beautiful red Maltese cross cancellation can easily sell for $1,000 to $3,000. Such examples are always in demand because they display the stamp exactly as it appeared during its period of postal use. An exceptional penny black with outstanding quality, excellent centering, and superb eye appeal may reach $5,000 to $10,000 or even more at major stamp auctions. Unused penny blacks are much rarer because most were used for mailing letters. Genuine unused examples with original gum can command prices ranging from $20,000 to well over $100,000 depending on quality and certification. Some extraordinary penny black varieties have achieved astonishing auction prices. Rare printing plate numbers, unusual cancellations, major errors, or historically important covers have sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Exceptional museum-quality pieces may exceed $1 million when their rarity and provenance make them unique. Collectors should remember that auction results depend on many factors. Market demand, economic conditions, rarity, expert certificates, and provenance all influence the final selling price. 2 penny blacks that appear similar at first glance can have values that differ by tens of thousands of dollars because of subtle differences in plate position, margins, or condition. One fascinating aspect of the penny black is that it inspired postal systems around the globe. Countries quickly realized the advantages of prepaid postage, and within a few decades, adhesive postage stamps became the international standard. Without the penny black, modern mail services as we know them might have developed very differently. Many people ask whether it is still possible to find a valuable penny black today. The answer is yes, although it is becoming increasingly rare. Some examples still appear in old family collections, inherited stamp albums, estate sales, antique shops, and specialized auctions. Occasionally, collectors discover overlooked examples that turn out to be worth thousands of dollars after professional examination. If you think you own a penny black, never clean it or attempt to repair it. Even gentle cleaning can reduce its value significantly. Always handle it with stamp tongs rather than your fingers, store it in a protective stamp mount, and seek authentication from a recognized philatelic expert if you believe it may be valuable. The penny black represents much more than a collectible stamp. It symbolizes one of the greatest innovations in communication history. It transformed the way people connected across cities and countries, making written correspondence affordable for ordinary families. Every surviving penny black tells a story of the Victorian era, global communication, and the beginning of modern postal systems. For collectors, owning a penny black is like owning the first chapter of stamp collecting history. It is respected in every country and admired by beginners and experts alike. Even after more than 180 years, it continues to inspire new generations of philatelists who appreciate its beauty, historical importance, and remarkable legacy. As stamp collecting continues to grow worldwide, high-quality penny blacks remain among the most sought-after classic stamps in the market. Demand from collectors, investors, museums, and historical institutions helps maintain strong values for premium examples. While common used copies remain relatively affordable, the finest certified examples continue to set impressive auction records and are considered blue-chip collectibles within the philatelic world. Next up, we are taking a close look at another iconic British stamp that has fascinated collectors for decades. At first glance, it may appear to be a simple purple stamp featuring Queen Elizabeth II, but behind this elegant design lies a remarkable story of British postal history, stamp collecting, and surprising market values. If you have one of these stamps in your collection, you may be wondering whether it is common, rare, or potentially valuable. In today's video, we will explore its history, design, printing varieties, collectible features, and its current market value in US dollars. Stay with me until the end, because some rare versions of this stamp are worth far more than most collectors expect. The stamp you are looking at is a Great Britain Machin definitive, one of the most famous definitive stamp series ever produced. The Machin series was first introduced in 1967 and remains in use today, making it one of the longest-running stamp designs in the world. The portrait of Queen Elizabeth II was created by the renowned British sculptor Arnold Machin. His elegant profile of the Queen became an international symbol of British postage and is recognized by collectors across the globe. The stamp shown here has a face value of 512 pence, often written as 512p. It was issued during the period before Britain changed many of its postal rates, and millions of these stamps were used on everyday mail. Despite being produced in large numbers, the Machin series has become one of the most studied areas of stamp collecting because there are hundreds of different varieties based on color, paper type, phosphor bands, gum, printing method, perforations, and security features. The portrait of Queen Elizabeth II is simple yet elegant. Unlike many commemorative stamps that feature colorful artwork or historical events, the Machin design focuses entirely on the Queen's profile against a solid colored background. This minimalist approach allows collectors to easily recognize British definitive stamps from almost any distance. It is a timeless design that has remained popular for more than half a century. One interesting feature of this stamp is the small heraldic emblem in the upper left corner. This decorative symbol represents part of the royal arms and adds a touch of British heritage to the overall design. The deep violet or purple background gives the stamp a rich appearance that collectors appreciate. Although millions of these stamps were printed, not every example has the same value. Stamp collectors know that identifying the exact printing can make an enormous difference. The Machin series was printed using several different printing methods, including photogravure and lithography. Different printing companies also produced these stamps over the years, and each company introduced slight differences that experienced collectors carefully examine. Paper type is another important factor. Some Machin stamps were printed on coated paper, while others were printed on uncoated paper. The type of gum used on the back can also help identify a specific printing. Later issues introduced self-adhesive versions and security slits, while earlier versions required moisture to activate the gum. Perforations are equally important. Small differences in the number of perforations can identify scarce printings that are worth much more than ordinary examples. Many advanced collectors use special perforation gauges and ultraviolet lamps to distinguish between similar-looking varieties. Phosphor bands are one of the most important characteristics of British Machin stamps. These invisible bands were applied to help automated mail sorting equipment. Under ultraviolet light, phosphor bands glow brightly, allowing specialists to identify different printings. Some stamps have one phosphor band, others have two, and a few rare errors are missing the bands entirely. These unusual varieties are highly sought after by collectors. Now let us discuss the most important question that many viewers have. What is this stamp worth in today's market? The majority of used 512p Machin stamps are very common because they were printed in enormous quantities. A typical used example with a clear cancellation generally sells for between 10 cents and $1, depending on condition and demand. A mint never hinged example with original gum is usually worth between $1 and $5. If it is a common printing in excellent condition, if the stamp comes as part of a complete booklet pane, presentation pack, or post office presentation folder, the value may increase to between $5 and $20, especially if the packaging remains in excellent condition. Certain scarce printings identified by specialized catalog numbers can sell for $25 to $100. These values depend on factors such as perforation variety, phosphor band type, paper variety, or printing company. Rare production errors attract the highest prices. Missing colors, missing phosphor bands, dramatic printing shifts, imperforate examples, or major printing errors have sold for $200 to over $1,000 depending on rarity, condition, and expert certification. Collectors should understand that identifying these valuable varieties usually requires specialized reference books and expert examination. Two stamps that appear identical to the naked eye may have very different values once their printing characteristics are properly identified. Condition remains one of the biggest factors affecting value. A stamp with bright color, perfect perforations, no creases, no stains, and fresh original gum will always command a higher price than a damaged example. Even common stamps become more desirable when preserved in exceptional condition. Many beginning collectors overlook Machin stamps because they seem ordinary. However, experienced philatelists know that this series offers one of the most challenging and rewarding areas of stamp collecting. Thousands of specialists around the world dedicate their collections entirely to Machin stamps, searching for elusive varieties that may take years to locate. One fascinating aspect of the Machin series is the incredible number of different denominations, colors, and printings produced over several decades. As postal rates changed, new values were introduced, creating an extensive family of stamps that documents the evolution of British postal history. Some collectors attempt to collect every Machin ever issued, a goal that can take many years because there are literally hundreds of major varieties and thousands of minor ones. If you discover this stamp in an old collection, do not assume it has little value simply because it looks common. Carefully examine the perforations, phosphor bands, paper type, printing quality, and gum. Compare it with specialized stamp catalogs such as Stanley Gibbons or consult an experienced dealer. Occasionally, collectors discover rare varieties hiding among ordinary-looking stamps. Proper storage is essential for preserving value. Always handle stamps with stamp tongs rather than your fingers. Store them in acid-free albums or protective mounts. Keep them away from direct sunlight, excessive humidity, and dust. And never attempt to clean a stamp because cleaning can permanently reduce its collector value. The Machin series represents much more than everyday postage. It tells the story of modern Britain, technological advances in stamp production, changing postal rates, and the remarkable reign of Queen Elizabeth II. These stamps traveled on billions of letters across the world, connecting families, businesses, and governments for more than 5 decades. Even today, collectors continue discovering new varieties, making the Machin series one of the most actively researched fields in Philately. Auction houses regularly offer specialized Machin collections, and dedicated collectors compete for rare printings that complete their exhibits. This ongoing interest helps maintain steady demand for scarce varieties while encouraging new collectors to explore this fascinating area. Whether your stamp is worth a few cents or several $100s, it represents an important piece of postal history. Every Machin stamp carries a story of British design, printing technology, and communication that has influenced stamp production around the world. Next up, we are exploring another beautiful and historic British postage stamp that has captured the attention of collectors around the world. At first glance, this stamp may seem like a simple red definitive featuring a young Queen Elizabeth II, but behind this elegant design lies an incredible story of British history, royal tradition, stamp production, and collector demand. In today's video, we will discover the fascinating history of this classic stamp, learn about its design, understand the different varieties that exist, and most importantly, reveal its market value in today's collector market in US dollars. If you own one of these stamps or hope to add one to your collection, stay with me until the very end because some rare versions are worth far more than most people realize. The stamp shown here is the famous Great Britain Wilding Definitive, issued during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II. This particular stamp has a face value of 212 pence, also written as 212D, because Britain was still using its old, pre-decimal currency before decimalization in 1971. The Wilding series was introduced in 1952, shortly after Queen Elizabeth II became monarch, following the death of King George VI. These stamps remained an essential part of everyday British postal services throughout the 1950s and 1960s until they were gradually replaced by the famous Machin series. Beginning in 1967, the portrait on this stamp is based on a photograph taken by the celebrated British photographer Dorothy Wilding. Her photographs became the official image of the young queen and were used for coins, official portraits, and postage stamps. The graceful profile of Queen Elizabeth II presented a modern image of the new monarch while preserving the dignity and elegance associated with the British royal family. The stamp's design is simple yet sophisticated. The Queen's portrait appears inside an oval frame decorated with laurel leaves, symbolizing honor, victory, and tradition. The letters E and R at the top stand for Elizabeth Regina, which is Latin for Queen Elizabeth. At the bottom of the stamp, the words postage revenue indicate that the stamp could also be used for certain revenue purposes under British law. This dual purpose makes these stamps especially interesting to philatelists. One of the reasons collectors enjoy the Wilding series is the remarkable variety of colors, watermark types, phosphor bands, papers, and printing methods. While millions of these stamps were produced for everyday postal use, specialists know that identifying the exact variety can dramatically affect its value. The 212 Wilding stamp was printed in several shades ranging from bright scarlet to deep red. Different printings can display subtle color variations caused by changes in ink mixtures over time. Experienced collectors often compare stamps under natural light or use specialized color guides to distinguish between these shades. Another important feature is the watermark. Early Wilding stamps were printed on paper containing different watermark patterns. Some feature the Tudor crown watermark, while later issues were printed with the St. Edward's crown watermark. These watermark differences help identify specific printings and can significantly influence collector value. Phosphor bands are another key characteristic. During the late 1950s, British postal authorities introduced phosphor-coated stamps to assist automated mail sorting machines. Under ultraviolet light, these phosphor bands glow brightly. Some stamps have no phosphor bands, others have one band, and many have two. Rare phosphor varieties are among the most desirable Wilding stamps. Printing methods also changed during production. Some issues were printed using photogravure, while others were produced by typography. Tiny differences in the appearance of the design allow specialists to determine exactly which printing produced a particular stamp. Now let us answer the question that every collector wants to know. What is this stamp worth in today's market? The majority of used 212D Wilding stamps remain quite affordable because millions were printed. A typical used example in average condition usually sells for 10 cents to $1. A clean used example with bright color, sharp perforations, and a clear cancellation may sell for $1 to $3, especially if it displays an attractive postmark. Mint never hinged examples with original gum generally sell for $2 to $10, depending on the exact printing, watermark, and overall condition. Complete booklets, presentation packs, or blocks of 4 can sell for $20 to $75, particularly if they remain in excellent condition with original packaging. Scarcer watermark varieties, unusual phosphor combinations, or less common printings may be worth between $50 and $250, depending on rarity and demand. The most valuable examples are major printing errors, missing phosphor bands, dramatic color shifts, inverted watermarks. Imperforate examples or significant production mistakes have sold at auction for $500 to more than $5,000, especially when accompanied by certificates from recognized philatelic experts. One important lesson for every collector is that two stamps that appear identical may have completely different values. The only way to determine whether your stamp is common or scarce is through careful examination using specialized catalogs, watermark detectors, ultraviolet lamps, and perforation gauges. Condition remains one of the biggest factors influencing value. A stamp with vivid color, perfect perforations, no folds, no stains, and fresh original gum will always command a premium. Even small faults such as thin spots, creases, tears, or damaged perforations can reduce value considerably. Collectors should never attempt to clean or repair old stamps. Removing cancellations, Washing the paper or adding repaired perforations almost always reduces collector value and may make expert certification impossible. Proper storage in acid-free stamp albums or protective mounts is always the best way to preserve your collection. The Wilding series occupies a unique place in British philatelic history. These stamps were issued during a period of tremendous change. Britain was rebuilding after the Second World War, the Commonwealth was evolving, and Queen Elizabeth II was beginning what would become the longest reign in British history. Every Wilding stamp reflects this remarkable era of history and serves as a miniature historical document. Many collectors enjoy building complete Wilding collections that include every denomination, watermark, phosphor variety, and printing type. Although assembling a complete specialized collection can take many years, it is considered one of the most rewarding areas of British philately. The challenge of identifying subtle differences has attracted collectors for generations. Another fascinating aspect of these stamps is their international popularity. Collectors from Europe, North America, Asia, Australia, and Africa actively seek well-preserved Wilding issues because they represent one of the classic, definitive stamp series of the 20th century. Auction houses regularly feature specialized Wilding collections, and rare varieties continue to achieve strong prices when offered in excellent condition. If you inherit an old British stamp album, never overlook the Wilding stamps simply because they appear common. Some rare watermark or phosphor varieties are easily mistaken for ordinary examples. Careful examination could reveal a hidden treasure worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. As the years pass, high-quality examples become increasingly difficult to find because many stamps were heavily used on everyday mail. Well-preserved mint examples and certified rare varieties continue to attract serious collectors and investors who appreciate their historical importance and lasting appeal. Whether your stamp is worth a few cents or several $1,000s, it represents an important chapter in British postal history. It tells the story of a young queen beginning her reign, a nation embracing modern postal technology, and millions of letters carrying news, hopes, and memories across Britain and around the world. Thank you for joining me today on Stamps Old World US. I hope you enjoyed learning about the beautiful Great Britain 212D, Queen Elizabeth II. Wilding definitive, its fascinating history, collectible varieties, and its current market value in US dollars. If you enjoy discovering rare stamps, hidden treasures, auction records, stamp collecting tips, and valuable postal history from around the world, be sure to subscribe to Stamps Old World US. Every new episode brings another exciting journey into the incredible world of Philately, where even the smallest stamp can tell an unforgettable story. Don't forget to like this video, share it with fellow stamp collectors, and leave a comment below telling us whether you own any Wilding stamps or if you have ever discovered a rare variety in your collection. Thank you for watching Stamps Old World US, and I look forward to seeing you in our next exciting adventure into the world of rare and valuable stamps.